Look at their faces, those smiles, bright, proud, and radiant. Four heroes returning to the cradle of Earth after 10 days in the deep dark, further than any human has traveled in over 50 years. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. They look victorious. But do not be fooled by the celebration. Look closer. Beneath the skin, under the triumph, a silent clock is ticking. A clock that counts down to the total destruction of their genetic legacy. While they wave to the cameras, their bodies are telling a story of invisible transformations, a slow, agonizing decay that began the very second they pierced the thin veil of our atmosphere. You might ask yourselves, how is this possible? 50 years ago, the giants of the Apollo era walked on the lunar dust, returned to Earth, and lived to be 80 years old. They seemed untouchable. Yet today, after only 10 days in the void, we are told that the bodies of our modern pioneers are breaking, warping, and fading. Is it a lie? Was Apollo a hoax? Or has our technology somehow failed us? The truth is far more terrifying than any conspiracy. The universe did not change, we did. For 4 billion years, Earth has been our womb, a protective shield of magnetic grace. Apollo was a gamble, a fleeting, lucky glance through a rare window of cosmic mercy. We were tourists, catching a glimpse of the abyss before running back to safety. But now, as humanity prepares to plant its flag and stay, that mercy has expired. The void does not welcome residents, it only accepts remains. Artemis 2 was never just a mission of exploration, it was a living autopsy, a brutal, calculated experiment on the limits of our fragile biological architecture. We are no longer just visitors, we are trespassers, and deep space has finally decided to collect its debt. Every cell, every precious strand of DNA is being rewritten by the very darkness we tried to conquer. Our heroes have returned, yes, but the humans who left 10 days ago, they are already gone. Prepare yourselves, because what you are about to see is the official record of how the universe begins to erase the identity of a species that dared to stay too long in the dark. The smiling faces you saw on the news, those puffed, rounded cheeks, they have a clinical name. Scientists call it moon face. But out here, in the silence of the deep dark, it is the first sign of your body's betrayal. Without the constant, heavy embrace of Earth's gravity, your internal map is lost. The fluids that once pooled in your legs begin to migrate, rushing towards your chest and your head. Imagine a permanent, suffocating congestion that never ends. Your sense of smell? Gone. Your taste? Withered. Your very face becomes a mask of swelling, a lunar transformation that hides the agony beneath. But the pressure does not stop at the skin. Inside the skull, the fluid builds, pressing against the brain, crushing the back of the eyes. This is not a temporary discomfort. For many, the pressure deforms the eyeball itself, flattening the globe, scarring the optic nerve. They traveled 300,000 miles to see the stars, only for the void to steal their sight in return. A permanent blur, a souvenir of a trespasser who stayed too long. Yet, as brutal as the pressure is, it is nothing compared to the invisible acid. Once the Artemis crew left the protective magnetic bubble of Earth, they became orphans of the sun. The Orion capsule, a marvel of human engineering, is little more than a paper shield against the fury of deep space radiation. When those high-energy particles strike the metal hull, they shatter, creating a secondary storm of subatomic daggers that rain down upon the crew. It is an invisible, silent executioner. It does not just burn the skin, it slices through the double helix of your DNA, tearing, shattering the very blueprint of your existence. NASA hopes these effects are reversible. They tell us the muscles will heal, the bones will harden again, and the swelling will fade. But they are ignoring the scars on the soul of the cell. This is the erasure. The universe is not just attacking their bodies, it is rewriting their code. Every second spent beyond the shield is a second where your genetic legacy is being unwritten. You may return to Earth, you may walk again, but the version of you that left is being deleted, atom by atom. You are not conquering the frontier, you are being dissolved by it. And as your DNA fractures, the clock for the mission to Mars begins to tick, not toward a new world, but toward a biological dead end. Within the cramped, recycled air of the Orion capsule, humanity has built a shrine to its own desperation. It is called the flywheel, a device no larger than a shoebox, designed to mimic the crushing weight of the world we left behind. Every day, the crew anchors themselves to this machine, straining, sweating, fighting a battle against an enemy that never tires. Gravity is gone, and in its absence, the body decides that being human is a waste of energy. The skeletal system, the very foundation of your architecture, begins to melt. Think of it. For 4 billion years, every ancestor you ever had was shaped by the pull of the earth. Your bones are not just calcium, they are the living history of our struggle against the ground. But out here, in the void, that history is being erased. 1%. That is the price the universe demands every 30 days. 1% of your bone density dissolved into your blood and flushed away. This is not just aging, it is a reversing fossilization. You are becoming dust before you are even dead. Your frame becomes a fragile relic, a crumbling ruin that would shatter the moment it tried to return to the world that made it. But NASA knew the flesh was too weak for this journey, so they sent the ghosts instead. Tucked away in the shadows of the cabin were the avatars of agony, the organ chips. Tiny silicone devices the size of a USB drive containing living, breathing human tissue, bone marrow, heart cells, lung fragments. These are the true explorers of Artemis II. While the crew slept, these biological time capsules were being flayed by the cosmic fire. They were placed there to be the sacrificial lambs, to show us exactly how the radiation slices through our organs when the shield is gone. We are looking into a mirror of our own decay. We see the heart cells lose their rhythm, the marrow forget how to create life, the very essence of our biology becoming a broken static signal. The organ chips are not just experiments. They are the tombstones of our ambition. They tell us a truth we are too terrified to admit. The machine can survive the journey, the metal can endure the cold, but the human legacy, the delicate, wet, fragile code of our species, was never meant to leave the cradle. We are trying to preserve a museum of life inside a furnace of eternity. And as the flywheel spins and the bones dissolve, we must face the growing suspicion that we are not colonizing the future. We are merely documenting our own disappearance. 10 days was just a warning, a whisper from the abyss. But now, let us accelerate the clock. Let us watch the sand run through the glass at a terrifying speed. Fast forward to 1,000 days in the deep dark. Forget the 10-day loop around the moon. Imagine a mission to Mars, a 3-year journey through the heart of the cosmic fire. 1,000 days of being flayed by radiation. 1,000 days of bones melting into liquid. 1,000 days of existing in a metal coffin, millions of miles from the only world that ever loved us. Look at the crew as they finally arrive at the red planet. They do not step out in glory. They emerge as biological husks. Their eyes, once bright with the fire of exploration, are now clouded and blind. The intracranial pressure has won. Their bones, once the strong pillars of their bodies, are now as brittle as parched glass. A single stumble on the Martian dust would not just be a fall, it would be a total shattering of their frame. This is the face of the new pioneer. They are no longer Homo sapiens. They have been rewritten by the void. Their DNA, a mangled, distorted script, can no longer tell the body how to heal, how to grow, or how to be human. They are ghosts haunting a ship that has become a flying mausoleum. And look at the destination. Mars, once the beacon of our future, the great hope of a multi-planetary species. Through the lens of time, it reveals its true face. It is not a cradle. It is a magnificent, rust-colored graveyard. A silent, frozen world that has been dead for billions of years, waiting to swallow the remains of the only creatures foolish enough to knock on its door. Every footprint they leave in that red dust is not a mark of conquest. It is a trace of a species that is fading away. We are not colonizing Mars. We are merely adding our own debris to its ancient ruins. By the time the hatch opens, the humanity we sent into the stars has already been extinguished. We reach for the red planet with hands made of dust, only to find that the future we dreamed of is just another layer of ash in the archaeology of the stars. The clock has run out. The identity of the Voyager is deleted. And out there, in the cold red silence, there is no one left to remember what it was like to be whole. Turn your eyes back toward the beginning. Look at that tiny, fragile sphere floating in the absolute nothingness. From 400,000 kilometers away, the view is not one of triumph. It is one of pure, terrifying isolation. This is the true, darker overview effect. Earth is not a launch pad. It is a nursery, a green and blue cage, the only place in the infinite dark where the universe has granted us permission to exist. That thin, delicate magnetic shield is not just a barrier. It is a countdown timer, and every second we spend beneath its protection is a stolen moment of mercy. The crew of Artemis II, they were not conquerors. They were messengers. They went into the abyss to show us exactly how fragile we really are. They paid with their bones, their blood, and their DNA to bring back a warning. They showed us that the clock is ticking and that our biological legacy cannot survive the cold. We are burning billions of dollars pushing the limits of our genius just to leave the only home we will ever have. But the deeper we go into the dark, the more we realize that the universe is a vast, beautiful museum of silence, and we are not the curators. We are the exhibits that are fading away. Treasure this moment, treasure this world, because when you reach for the stars, you are reaching for your own extinction. And the most beautiful legacy of the human species is not that we conquered the void, but that for a brief, shining moment in eternity, we were here, we were alive, and we remembered what it felt like to be whole. Will you choose to chase the dying light of the stars, or will you protect the only sanctuary we have left? The clock is ticking, and the choice is yours.